With the fluctuating economy, with the market going up and the travesties going around the world and the wars and the mayhem that's happening, people may correct their spending in travel and luxury. But the one thing that is, I firmly believe, that will maintain is the opportunity to go out and forget about things for a couple hours with your family and friends at a restaurant. And that's where you're going, I'm going to spend this money right here. It's not extravagant investment. I'm not buying a new bag. As long as you take care of your guest, as long as you give them good service and great food, we have a long, long future.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, we are back in the studio here in downtown San Diego. And I got a very special guest who's actually in the food industry. He's been on Bravo's Top Chef twice. He's been on the ABC show with Anthony Bourdain. He's opened 30 plus restaurants across multiple markets, internationally and domestically. I got my man, Brian Malarkey. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to come on. I was actually sitting down eating dinner with a date at Urban Wood last Friday night.
Yes.
And had the pleasure of meeting you. I know everyone here locally in San Diego, they know your name. You've opened some really, really successful restaurants here. Urban One is just one of them. Urban Wood is just one of them. But thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you so much. This is fun. We jumped right into this. Yeah, met on Friday. We're already going at it.
We did. I like to move fast.
I like it. Me too.
Yeah. Money like speed, man. So, tell me, how did you get in the restaurant industry to begin with? I know, obviously, you have all these successful restaurants now. Did you start off as like a chef?
Yeah, I started out as a chef. Back in the day, I was a miserable college student, flunked out of University of Portland, wound up in Santa Barbara City College, where all the cool kids go, doing theater arts. My father saw a play I was in. He was like, Moonchild, that's what he used to call me. He goes, "You are a horrible actor." I was like, "I know, Dad. I can't remember the lines." He goes, "Why don't you do what you've always loved?" And I was like, "Party?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You should be like a chef, like run restaurants, throw parties." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, sounds like a good idea." I went to culinary school, hated that. Bad uniforms, paper hats, and silly, bad, crappy food. But I went to my first restaurant as an intern in Los Angeles as one of the top restaurants in the country at the time, called the Citrus. Okay. And you love money, so we had Robin Leach actually came through the restaurant one time, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, one of the top 10 restaurants in the country. And that's when I realized that chefs were kind of like rock stars, like dirty pirates, kind of that Bourdain-esque to it, and I was hooked. And I realized that that's what I want to do. I was pretty sure that they just hired the hostesses for my personal pleasure, and the whole thing was just a party, and you cook hard, you live hard, you play hard, and I absolutely fell in love with the entire process of it. And it took me a while to be more than a chef and see outside that box, but with a lot of hard work and energy. And a wise person once told me, make money on somebody else's dime first. Don't rush into trying to run your own thing. Test the waters and make sure you know what you're doing before you take your friends, families, associates' money and throw it in this, horrible industry, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I think that applies to all business and in real estate ventures. You should not raise money from others until you know how to take care of your own money and do it on your own. So with Urban Wood, I know it's kind of an industrial look building, kind of like similar to the office that we're standing in now. What was that building before?
Oh, I love this. So that building back in the 40s was kind of like a lumber mill. It was right there on the tracks, similar to where you are right here. And but I have a great story where I was shooting a Ronald McDonald commercial with Tony Hawk about 7 years ago, raising money for the Ronald McDonald. I'm actually cooking lunch there tomorrow, which is very nice, a very proud thing for me to do, and a very emotional, heart-tugging moment. If you're not familiar with the Ronald McDonald House, please check it out. They take care of families whose children are in precarious situations and need some help. And it's a way to comfort them and allow them the opportunity to stay in a house or a facility that's not a hotel. It's got a little bit more of a home feeling to it, and focus on their child's well-being while that is taken care of. But we're raising money for this, and I was like, Tony, you got to come check out this building I'm in. I just opened this new restaurant, Herb Wood. It's this big warehouse building in Little Italy. And Tony was like, is old man Ron Taylor your landlord? And I said, yes, he is. He goes, that's the building building. I started making my very first skateboard decks in the 1970s. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, I was 12 years old and Ron Taylor was teaching me how to make my skateboard decks there. And he said it just has a special place in my heart. And I was blown away. The next night he was in for dinner, and a week later he was one of my best investors.
Wow, what are the chances? So when you guys picked up the Urban Woods space, was it already like outfitted for retail?
That is one of the greatest coups in San Diego right there. Richard Blais and that investment group he was with had opened Juniper and Ivy.
Okay,
right?
Love that restaurant.
And I was like, gosh, I know Richard, he's a top cheffer like myself, and we do all the silly game shows and stuff. And I was like, I think you're too far out, man. This North Little Italy, I don't think it's developed enough. And he just crushed it, right? And the whole idea was he was from Atlanta, and I saw him at a food and wine festival in Aspen, and he had the San Diego Charger hat on back in the day, right? I mean, this is 10 years ago. And I was like, yo, Richard, what's up with your Charger hat, you know? And he said, I'm moving to San Diego to open this restaurant. And I was like, yo, bro, that's my town. You know, stay away, jokingly not. And he showed up and opened this restaurant. And I was like, I just think you're too far out, man. I mean, Little Italy is going to be something big, but I was down at Searsucker and the Gas Lamp still. And he just knocked it out of the park. And I went through a transition there where Hakkasan came in and bought my fabric restaurants, the Searsucker, Burlap, Gingham, Gabardine, Herringbone. They bought those, so I had an opportunity to start something new, and that was Herb Wood. And I was like, what better way to welcome Richard Blais to my city than to become his next door neighbor? And it was that really cool modern furniture store, that building. I can't really recall the name of it right now, but it was so sick. The modern furniture in there, my unicorn when you first walk in is a Moy lamp. It was a lamp back in the day until my business partner and our artist decided to turn it. That's a big
lamp.
It decided to turn into a unicorn for me one night. I called up the GM of Juniper and Ivy, and I said, did you ever watch that movie Porky's back in the day? And he's like, yeah, Porky's. And I was like, yeah. I said, so when I drill a hole in your wall, don't pull on my dick. There's that scene where they stick their dick in the shower and yeah. And so he was like, you fucking didn't, Malarkey. And I was like, I did. I said, you know what? We're better as a team. And it is, you want restaurants surrounded by other restaurants and other energy. So it creates kind of a zone. And now we have, Nolita and there's Kettner over there. There's a whole bunch of stuff kind of going into that North Little Italy segment over there. And it's just better for everybody.
Yeah, and
Richard Blais is long gone, and I'm still there.
So was it Richard Blais that started Crack Shack next door?
I think Richard Blais had a hand in it, but he's been out of Kettner and the Crack Shack for quite a long time.
I've been in this neighborhood for quite some time, so I've seen the evolution. I've seen the progression with this neighborhood. I've seen it evolve. And it's really become like the mecca and the hub of San Diego for all fine dining. And I talk about this all the time. I had someone on my show who studies demographics. He wrote the book Big Shifts Ahead. And he says like the people that are born in the 80s, the millennials in the early 90s, he calls them the sharers because they want to go value these experiences, whether it's a nice restaurant or it's a nice place to stay, and they want to share it with all their friends. And so he said like because of that, a lot of these chain restaurants, the Applebee's, the Chili's, the Sizzlers, are starting to phase out. And it makes sense
Thank
because
God.
What's that?
Thankfully,
yeah, yes. No, right. And it makes sense because if you look at, Little Italy, for example, all these restaurants are really, really cool, but they're all one-offs, right? So you don't see any replicates of these restaurants. I feel like if a restaurant does good, it's successful, the ownership group will open another one down the street, but it will have a completely different name. It will have a completely different menu. It will have a completely different vibe.
Yeah, Arsalon is very, very good at that.
Yeah, and so my question to you is, with all these restaurants that you have, I mean, how hard is that to duplicate over and over with a completely different theme and make it successful?
What makes it fun, my business partner, Chris Puffer, and I, that's what we love to do is we like to create different, we're not just like, we don't just do Italian. We don't just do French. We don't just do Americana. We love to challenge ourselves. I mean, we have Anime, which is an incredible Asian concept now with an amazing Filipino chef, Tara Monson down there. And we're building a new French steakhouse in the old Herringbone location, which is one of our old restaurants that we had sold. And I think it's the dream come true. You sell high and buy low. So we got it back for the right price. And that's going to be our French-inspired concept called Le Coq. We're not, I don't want to say, we're not very smart, maybe is what it is. It's a lot easier to take the same concept and open another one. You have your inventory, what's expected, what your design is, and what your budget is. Anytime you start completely new in a blank piece of paper or blank canvas, it's a lot of unknowns and what's going to work and what's not going to work. And there's a lot less money in the long run doing what we do. No one wants to ever buy a one-off restaurant. Nobody ever wants to buy a group of restaurants that are all different concepts. The only restaurant that has value to be sold is a Sam Fox guy, right? Is somebody that can create, he did True Foods, okay, right? He did Blanca, he did North. He sold all those for like $500 million because he had 10 plus units, 20 units. That's how you sell to the Landrys of the world, the Cheesecake Factories of the world. So ours is not a massive investment opportunity. Ours is a great, if you live in the neighborhood and you love the restaurant, it's a great investment opportunity for you to have a piece of that.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, we're talking investments. Historically, the reputation of getting into the restaurant industry as an investor or as an owner is it's very, very challenging to make it. Successful restaurants can have very, very low profit margins. What is the reason that someone should invest into restaurants?
You have to invest, and don't hate me, all people, young chefs coming up and young entrepreneurs that want to open their own restaurant, but you have to follow somebody and find somebody that's got a track record. So many people, this is a business that so many people are like, oh, I want to open a restaurant one day. And it's like raising a child that never grows up, a special needs child. No matter what, you wake up every morning with it. You are with it all day long. You have to keep track of what's happening every single moment of every single day of all week, all month, all year. And people don't think about, what does this baby look like in a year? What does it look like in 2 years, 3, 5, 8? Most of these restaurants take about 3 to 5 years to pay off before you get profitability on those, right? I mean, it takes a long time. How many restaurants do you know that are great in their 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th year, right? So you have to invest with somebody that knows exactly what they're doing. And fortunately, I'd like to say I'm the genius behind it, but I'm not. I have an amazing team. I completely understand finance because I played with somebody else's money and I learned how to run cost on my side of the kitchen in the back of the house. But my business partner, Chris Puffer, and our whole group that works with him, they're so good. They're so smart. They're so organized. And what they do and how they do it for a long period of time. And they deal with the highs and deals with the lows and deal with the COVIDs of the world and still survive. That's what it's all about. As in any investment, you want to look to somebody that has a proven track record.
Yeah, absolutely. And so would you say that the reason why there's such a high failure rate in the restaurant industry is not necessarily because it can't be done, but it's more so because a lot of the folks that get into it just don't have any business
idea
and entrepreneurship
what they're doing.
Experience. Got it.
It is so hard, so many moving pieces, so many places to lose money, so many things that adjust, cost on wines, foods, your rents, your this, the labor. The labor is just eating us alive down here. And how do you bring it all together and act like your guests? You're only concerned with their happiness. It's the right lighting, the right music. It's all your senses. It's the taste, the touch, the smell, the feel, the sound. So you want those things, but they don't know about the chaos happening behind the doors behind you.
Yeah.
And we tried to open small restaurants. Our math doesn't work with small restaurants,
Why is that?
Because I'm not the chef in the restaurant. I hire chefs in the restaurant. Puffer's not the GM in the restaurant. We hire GMs. So you have to cover those massive costs of people, and you don't hire, commodity GMs and chefs. You want the best of the best. You want them to be incentivized by your success. You want to give them a percentage of ownership. You want to give them, great bonus. So you need to have restaurants that are big enough to create that. If you wanted to have a mom and pop restaurant, your restaurant that I'm the chef and you're the GM, you'll make a nice living. You will make a nice living.
But you're going to be a slave to the restaurant, right?
But you're never going on vacation. You're never leaving, and you're there every single day. Is that fun? Is that your hobby that you decided to buy and you wanted to do? people don't understand how intricate and how many moving parts there are.
So if let's say you are out there and you're listening to this podcast right now, and let's say that you are an entrepreneur and you have a lot of business architecture experience that you could bring to the table and you want to start a restaurant, is it smarter for that person to go partner with someone that understands the actual restaurant industry? If you love real estate investing, passive income, and tax benefits, but don't have the time, my company, Summers Capital, is buying boutique hotels right now. We source the deals, we renovate the properties, and we even handle all the day-to-day management, making it truly hands-off for our investors. If you want to learn more to see if we can help you, visit summerscapital.com/invest to book a call with our team. Again, that's summerscapital.com/invest. Now back to the show.
A wise person once told me, I would rather have a little bit of a lot than a lot of nothing, you know? So you got to go in and you got to work for somebody that knows what they're doing, or you need to pay somebody who knows what they're doing to work for you. And why are they not just going to go open their own thing? So heavily incentivized. I would much rather make a lot less money and sleep at night in this restaurant business, you know?
It sounds like it's really three things. You got the operations, right, which is like the chefs and all of the staff and the payroll and now the operations, how that's going to run. And then you got the entrepreneurs got to run and understand the business side of it. And then the third arm is probably capital development, right? You got to be able to bring in investors, and then you got to be able to, sell, and you have to sell and market it. Yeah. Otherwise, no one's coming in the door. So is it four
we're
components?
Very fortunate because of the TV stuff that I do.
Yeah.
We know that people are coming. So we still do our marketing and stuff like that, but we're very fortunate we're at this stage of our existence that
the demand's there.
We know that people are coming because we've delivered and we love to deliver and we're excited for the next project. And this is going to be our last project here in San Diego. We're very excited about that.
Which one are we talking about?
Le Coq.
And that's in La Jolla, right?
In La Jolla, the old Herringbone location. Puffer has taken her down to the dirt and he is going to build a masterpiece and is going to be again, the French-inspired steakhouse, and I think it's going to have a lot of 70s and 80s reflection in there. And have you been to Animae?
I have not, but I need to because everyone...
Oh my gosh, we're 4 blocks away. I'm going to walk there as soon as we're done.
Everyone in town loves that spot. The girls on my team, they talk about it all the time. I need to go. I'm going to make it a point to go maybe this weekend.
The design is spectacular. I think it's the most beautiful restaurant in San Diego, and Le Coq is going to be on the same level.
I like that. So Tony Hawk's an investor.
Tony Hawk's an investor, and you know what? It's a lot of marketing. It's all marketing, and I actually call it, my team and I call it Malarketing.
Yeah. Does Tony market for the restaurant
Tony
group?
is like, you can drop my name all you want, and that's the best kind of partner. People are like, does Tony Hawk own Urban Sea and Encinitas? I was like, hell yes, he does. How much does he own? I mean, not that much, but he's a legend up in the North County area, and he helps so many young entrepreneurs and investors, and he's really just an incredible person. Sorry, Tony, I didn't mean to tell everybody to call you looking for money. But he's got that Chicken Hawk with Andrew. It's a new fast casual thing that they're going to do up there. I'm excited to see what they do there. It's a fried chicken sandwich spot. He's got something going on with Claudette Wilkins in the airport. We're actually going to, as I say, it's our last restaurant. We're going to be opening one in the airport in about 3 years also.
I love that.
Little lead time on that, huh?
That's kind of cool.
Herb and Air, get it?
I like that. So as an investor in the restaurant industry, what does the return profile kind of look like? Because I imagine it's upfront capital and then you're not getting a return right away.
So back in the olden days with my old partner who has moved town and has screwed a lot of people out of a lot of money, there was different math. We look at the math now with Puffer and I is in order to get quality investors, you not only have to give a quality product, but you have to realize that you're giving a great risk. And with a great risk, you should get a great reward. So we return very, very well. And we return 100% to our investors before we get any of our equity. Right? We do take a management deal, but we know how important it is for them to put the money back in their pocket. So it's actually a good deal for them. They get the depreciation, right? And then they get their money plus their taxation back. And then they're in the game with no money, with all their money back in their pocket. So it's essentially like owning stocks with no risk.
Sure.
And all of our restaurants, which is very unheard of, is, we survived the pandemic with the 3 down here. We have Urban Sea, Encinitas, we have Animae, and then Urban Wood. Everyone's paid back in full. Everyone's playing with house money now, and everybody's very happy.
I love that. So it's essentially a preferred return where the first X goes back to the investor till they get it back.
Yep.
On average, how long does it take for an investor to get their money back?
Ideally, 2.5 to 3.5 years.
That's quick.
That is very, very good to be.
I mean, that's 33% a year if you do it in 3 years.
Urban Wood's heading into its 7th year and breaking numbers right now. I think we're on pace to do about $12 million this year.
Gotcha.
And so many chefs and restaurateurs I talk to are now asking me questions like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And I'm like, well, what do you drop into the bottom line? And they're telling me like 5, 6, 3%. I'm like, good God.
Yeah.
Like
low single digits.
What's the point of opening the door? Are you kidding me?
What's considered a high profit margin in the space that you're playing
we
in?
think 18 to 25% is target.
That's great.
And that's a great return on your money.
Yeah. What is the key to spitting out an 18 to 20% profit margin in the restaurant
Controlling
industry?
cost. It's controlling cost. But again, I love these. A wise person once told me, don't count the pennies you're saving. Count the dollars you're making. All right? Don't cut the portion. Don't cut the pour. Don't cut the staff. Give them what they want. Give it to them. Give it to them. You're going to pay for it a little bit up front, but once you get the momentum, because the greatest marketing you can do in any restaurant is not your Yelps or your Instagram or your social media, whatever it is. It's inside those 4 walls. It's what you take care of in your own venue. A guest has a great meal, has a great experience, they tell all their friends, right? And once that just keeps growing and growing and growing, if you do that, you will win. It's as easy as that. But if you don't have the budget to start when you're doing it and you're like, oh God, I got to cut costs because I don't have enough money to buy as much meat or as much seafood, or I can't put that many servers on the floor tonight. I don't have enough of this. Hey, cut down on the pour a little bit, man. I'm bleeding money a little bit over here. You've got to be prepared to bleed to get the momentum going. Yeah. To start the heart.
I love that. I love that, reinvesting into your team and especially the ones that are helping you grow the business. You got to reinvest into them. One thing I loved about you is, Friday night we're out there having dinner at Urban Wood, and it's like 9:30 at night, and you are out there on the floor, literally shaking hands with your customers. Like, how often do you see the owner of multiple restaurants out there on a Friday night at 9:30, shaking hands and rubbing elbows with all the customers? I thought that was pretty impressive.
I love that. Thank you. That's my job. That's my job right now. I'm too old to be slinging it in the back with the kids on the grill and the saute and burning it hot and sweaty. So I worked for this chef back in the Ocean Air days. This is in the olden days here in San Diego, which was one of the busiest restaurants in town. I'm very fortunate. I went from Ocean Air, which was one of the busiest restaurants, to Searsucker, which was one of the busiest restaurants, to Urban Wood. That's all in the downtown area. But the corporate chef of the Ocean Air, it was a big group restaurant, he said, Malarkey, anytime you have the opportunity, when the tickets aren't coming, you're not in a crunch, walk around that dining room. And you don't look at the guest and say, how is everything? Right? And this is a big one. People want to go into this business. You have to Jedi mind trick them. You're going, don't you love that branzino? Isn't that martini the best you've ever had? You have to stimulate the idea of greatness. Like going, oh my gosh, don't you love that? Oh, one of my favorites. Oh, we having the best time ever tonight. And you build that. And I guarantee you, when the owner, the chef, comes and talks to that table, they tell everyone. And that's how I started my whole marketing in here. That helped me in everything I ever did. And I ask all my chefs and all my GMs to touch every single table, every single night, and make sure that the guest is having the best time.
I love that. And do you also in turn take you're taking live feedback really from the guests, right?
Yes, I do. I do have one thing. If somebody's just being an asshole, I'm like, that's not the table I want to go to. All right. Because some people just come in with a chip on their shoulder and they're not there to have a good time and they're not ready to change or anything like that. And as a chef, there's a point of people going into the restaurant industry is people who maybe can't control what they say to guests go into the back of the house, the kitchen, right? And people who can kiss ass a little bit better are servers, right? Mm-hmm. So if a guest tells me something I don't agree with as a chef, I'm not going to say, I'm be like, bullshit, so that's why they put me in the back of the house and put me where I can't talk to the guest as much. So I'm there to celebrate life with people, but if you're coming with a chip on your shoulder, I'm not there to talk to you.
Yeah, and I love your content, by the way. I follow you on Instagram. I suggest all listeners to go follow Brian at Brian Malarkey. But to pivot a little bit, we know 2020 happened and there was a pandemic, which was rough for a lot of retail, and especially the restaurants. So tell me a little bit about what that was like as a restaurant operator during the COVID.
It really just changed my entire perspective. It was the scariest, worst thing ever. I thought we might be done. It was the first 3 to 5 months of COVID was some of the scariest times ever. It was fun because you're sitting at home baking bread and drinking a lot, hanging out with your kids.
We have a photo here, actually. Shout out to the Bomarito brothers who do a lot of really cool art. But they hung a photo here when we were in my office chatting before we jumped on. And it's a photo of Little Italy. I'll show you when we're done. But it's unique because there's not any people in the photo. And it's a photo of India Street. They took it right when the pandemic dropped. And
everybody's
so
locked
creepy.
Inside?
Yeah, it's freaking creepy, man. But anyhow, it's like, what was that like? I mean, everyone's on lockdown as a restaurant operator. I mean, what was going through your head?
It was just surreal. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to, literally, I was like, I have no other life skill. And a wise person once told me, you have to make money when you sleep. And I only make money when I'm awake. Right? You have to attend one of my restaurants. You have to go to one of my venues. And that's the only way we work. And I realized like, oh my gosh, I have no backup plan. I have no alternate source of income. I'm going to be heading back to Oregon to live on the ranch again. And it was really wild. And then we were able to start doing these online cooking classes, Zoom cooking classes that became wildly popular during COVID. And as a chef, I was never invited to people's house. I don't know if they're scared to cook for me or if I'm just an asshole. And I was actually on these Zoom calls with these people cooking, and we were able to raise $100,000 for employee relief, selling some of our inventory of wines and doing dinners where we would go to people's houses eventually, which we've been going to a lot lately. And we were able to raise money doing these online cooking classes. And I was in people's kitchen. I was like, what kind of stove are you on? What kind of knives? What kind of salt? And I realized that the people at home with these big, beautiful kitchens and nice houses and apartments or wherever they were, nobody knew the basics of culinary, which was so surprising to me. We have these incredible grocery stores and Food Network and all these resources, the internet, and people didn't know what oil to use. So when we were able to go back to grocery stores and stuff, I would start going in and looking at grocery stores. And I came up with this idea, and I have a friend that is Beck's brand. They do branding. They did the Suja label. They redid Bumblebee recently. They do a lot of beautiful stuff. They did our old menus. They did Anime's logo and stuff. So I reached out to Beck's brand. I said, I have an idea. Now, I've had a lot of ideas in the past, my dehydrated bone marrow that we could just like get a Starbucks coffee cup and put hot water and then put my bone marrow in and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I'm probably killing the world by killing all the cows, And I was like, Bex, I got an idea. And she's like, all right, Brian, what do you got? I said, nobody knows what oil to use. Everybody believes you're supposed to cook with extra virgin olive oil, and you're not. 99% of people right now, everyone at home's going, I cook with extra virgin olive oil. I do too. Like, why? What's wrong with that? Well, there's several things wrong with it, but most importantly, extra virgin olive oil is not meant to be hot. It's not even supposed to be stored in the sunlight. That's how much it hates the heat. It breaks down, causes carcinogens, lots of problems, but the extra virgin olive oil companies are not going to tell you this. I'm probably going to have a hit outside right now from Spain and from Greece and from Italy. They're gonna kill me for divulging this information. But you're not supposed to cook with it. It doesn't like the heat. Extra virgin olive oil is very big in flavor. It has such a big flavor that if you eat it and you have it on your lettuces or your meats or whatever, it tastes like that. It's grassy, it's green, it's spicy, it's got whatever flavor's going on. It's such a robust flavor that it steals the show. And then also, it's more expensive. It's just more expensive. So, I've never dove into the CPG world, but I was like, what if we explain to people what oils to use when? And I said, I want to call it chef's oil. Mm-hmm. And Beck's brand was like, no, this is a lifestyle, Brian. What you just said here is literally the beginning of an entire lifestyle piece. She goes, let's call it chef's life. And I was able to buy the .com from somebody in Germany, and we got it trademarked, and we did everything. And so we made a 3-oil set. One oil is called Chef's Life Cooking Oil, avocado, grapeseed, sunflower, and the second pressed olive. And it's called, it says on the bottle, white bottle, beautiful black label that can look good on any counter. It's called, it says, use this oil for cooking. And they're like, that's genius, you know? I mean, people are like, well, what the hell? It tells you what to do. So then we did an extra virgin olive oil. It says, use this for finishing. That's what you're supposed to do. Just drizzle it on something when you're done with it, right? And then to complete the set, we did one that's called the blending oil for making your vinaigrettes, your marinades, and all those things. And thankfully, I have, you know, outreach because of Food Network and Top Chef. I made a video for Kroger.
Okay.
And I said, Kroger, you suck. You're outdated. You're not cool. You're getting beat by Walmart. You're getting beat by Amazon. You need to launch something cool and innovative that's hip and of today. And they said, you are correct. You are correct. And they launched me in 2,500 grocery stores.
Wow.
And I was like, OMG.
That is
thinking your dreams have come true.
Yeah.
But with that dream comes a lot of nightmares. In order to get that many bottles out of China into the ports of Long Beach during COVID and getting them filled and shipped across the country was just like, oh my goodness. It was such a wild ride, but it's been such a great success. We've launched 2 cooking sprays also, one with a butter flavor and one not. They're doing good. But if you don't get a unicorn in the CPG world, your competition is billionaires.
You get ran over.
Oh, you're going to get run over. So now we are just digging. We just got our shovel and we're doing good. We're doing good. We've expanded into a lot of other grocery stores. We've gotten into Target. We've gotten into so many boutique grocery stores, but the lift is enormous. And I mean, we're just chugging along, and we're doing our best. But people who think they're going up against the billionaires, you know, in the CPG world, it's a wild ride.
That sounds like it could be a good QVC play. Have you guys considered that?
I have been on QVC 3 times.
And how'd that go?
It's amazing, but you don't get the loyalty from QVC. You get big hits. It's crazy. In 3 minutes, you'll sell 50,000 bottles once. You don't. They're not going to go to the grocery store and buy your product because I fell in love with it. They're sitting around waiting for the next deal. They're just, I don't know where these people live, who they are, but I have been to Philadelphia 3 times to do QVC, and it's fun, but you don't find the brand loyalty you're looking for.
Yeah. So how do you guys continue to build out the marketing and build out that brand loyalty with this company? Hey guys, real quick, the only way this show grows, the only way we continue to bring on bigger and better guests is if you guys rate, review, and share the show. So if you could take 2 seconds or the click of the thumb to review on Apple or Spotify, it will mean the world to me. But more importantly, we'll be able to reach more entrepreneurs and more real estate investors and help them build wealth through this podcast. Now back to the show.
Thank goodness the bottle's spectacular. The bottle is beautiful and it works. And it's just building up traction because people are going, oh my gosh, because it's real. And it solved a problem. The best compliment I've heard, and I've heard it over and over and over again from all grocers. Everyone's picking it up because they say, you solved a problem the industry did not know existed, right? The fact that you have all of these extra virgin olive oils, and you've got some people that have avocado, Chosen's locally based here and stuff like that. You've got some avocado, and that's the bougie people that know what they're doing. And then it goes down to canola. There's not that middle ground, and we've really hit that market. So we're selling just because our bottle's prettier, and it says what to do. We've made some bottle adjustments on the art. We've changed some stuff around, but we're continuing to grow just by brand presence. And so now we're really, really delving into some off-the-cuff marketing. Like, we're trying to be polite in the beginning, and polite does not win in this world right now. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to be funny, aggressive, over the top. I mean, I'm in a TikTok world. I'm competing against stuff on Snapchat and this. So we went from trying to be this like real, like, here's how we're doing it, to be like, now we're dressing up like clowns and running down the street, you know?
Mm-hmm. So QVC versus Kroger. I know obviously, both come with fees and that sort of thing, but in terms of like the bottom line and better profit margin, which one has the better profit margin between those two platforms?
In order to launch a CPG product,
Yes.
you lose the least amount of money as possible. There is no profit in this game right now. There is zero profit. Your only win is getting big enough to kick the billionaires in the shin, and they buy you.
So it's really just baking on the exit one day.
Yep, the whole thing. Unless you've got $10 million, behind you, you're not looking for the long-term run. You're looking to punch them in the jaw and
have an exit.
Make them buy you.
So is that what you're kind of envisioning for this? Is to have some sort of exit in a few years?
My dream would to be able to partner with a bigger brand that can lift it up and do everything I want to do with it, while I still retain a minority ownership in it, because oil is only the canvas of the kitchen.
Okay.
I want to teach people about salts, seasonings, prepackaged meals, everything. Chef's Life is not just an oil company, like Beck's brand said. It is a lifestyle. And this is a brand that can paint the entire grocery store and educate the consumer at the same time.
Yeah. So, traditionally in America, I feel like the portion sizes and the health factor around a lot of these meals that we see, a lot of the chain restaurants that we were just alluding to, can be large portions, large enough to feed a family of 3, family of 4, and not necessarily the healthiest, diets. I noticed with a lot of these restaurants, new age now, we're seeing a lot of like smaller portions. We're seeing a lot more nutrition, and we're seeing a lot of vegan options for the folks that are vegan. Talk a little bit about how you've kind of seen the nutritional part evolve over the years.
Well, we're completely different worlds. We cook for our guests. We cook for the people who are in the San Diego area, people who are visiting the San Diego area. We use as much local produce. We use a ton of local seafood. My team is so involved in the local fisheries around here. And we're seeing proteins get smaller because protein's getting more expensive. And then kind of it's building into more of a proper diet with a little bit more of the accoutrements and a little less of the big portion meats, although steakhouses are all the rage right now. I can't speak to what a chain restaurant has to figure out. They're just trying to cater to the masses. Mm-hmm. We are very fortunate that we can cater to a much more boutique population and really just focus on what's working and what's not working for us. We can test things in the market right now, today and tomorrow.
How often are you guys going through these menus and getting rid of certain items and then bringing in and introducing new items on the menu? I
would say if something's not moving, it has a very short life. In order to have your staff trained on how to sell, communicate, and talk about the product, and have your kitchen execute the product, it's a slow intro and a quick exit. Same as they say, be slow to hire and fast to fire. We run everything as a special to test the waters. Oh, how does it work? How do people like it? And if they like it, we run it again. We might adjust it. And then if we're going to commit to putting that on the menu, then we really have to go through the, allergy reports, the this. So there's nothing more frustrating than when you're out eating saying, what is this? And the server doesn't know.
Yeah.
You have to have a very educated staff.
So the special will be a way to push it.
Yes.
And then how do you guys get direct feedback whether or not a guest likes it?
Immediately. It's the customer's right there in front of you. The server will be
so that it's on the server.
The server's reading them. Okay.
If they eat it all versus leave it.
No, you can't ever base that, because like when I go to eat, I way over order, and that's bad of me. But I do it because I want to eat a little bit of everything. I'm the best person to go eat with because we order
a lot.
When we go on like exploratory trips, eating trips, we go eat 2 or 3 dinners a night. I was just in New York last week, and I mean, it's like eat, because I'm looking to see what's in and what's going on. That's my research and development. So it's not based on that. It's based on literally, as we Jedi mind trick them, we also know what they're really thinking. Yeah. And it doesn't come out of the kitchen unless it's really good, because my management, my staff, who the real people are? Pre-shift. We take the dish there. If the servers don't like it, they won't sell it. They might not tell you it sucks, but if you sold 10, they didn't like it.
That makes sense. I got to ask you, so if someone's opening a new restaurant, what is a more important factor? Is it location or is it the type of restaurant that you're opening?
Location does not matter anymore at all. It really does not. So often, if the food is great, the story is great, the service is great, people are going to come to you, right? We're living in a very educated world, and nobody's scared to take an Uber. Do you know how many parking spots are at Urban Wood?
Zero. Yeah.
And we do 400 covers a night plus. People will come. Do you know how many? Nobody walks by Urban Wood and says, "Oh, look at that. Let's walk in there." You made that a destination.
Sure.
But would I go to Convoy to eat? Hell yes. Would I go to La Mesa to eat? If it's got the buzz, I'm going.
Yeah. I think for me, like, I agree with you. I think, obviously, if you're in the north corner or the south corner of Little Italy and you have a reason to bring people in there, I have a reason to go visit and eat there, I'm going to go. But at the same token, like if Urban Wood was like out in El Cajon, for me personally, I probably wouldn't go.
There's a lot of money in El Cajon, though.
I know there is. But for me personally, everything I do is kind of in this area, right?
Yeah.
After I might have a cocktail somewhere else before I go and have my dinner. And then after dinner, I might go and have an after somewhere, right? And so for me, I want to be in the area. So I don't know, that's personal. Maybe
LA
this is not.
has proven it over and over and over again. It does not matter where you open a restaurant. If it is good, people will come.
Yeah.
They put restaurants in the middle of warehouse districts. I mean, downtown LA never would have been considered a restaurant location, and it's hot as can be. I think LA is struggling a lot right now. I think a lot of these big cities along the coast are really struggling about what happened after COVID. I saw it before COVID. People from San Francisco and LA would come to the restaurant. They're like, "Oh, we're from LA. We're from San Francisco." That meant your food better be really good because we have really high expectations. Now they come into my restaurant and I'm like, "Where'd you move?" They all moved down here, because we don't have the congestion. Our city government did better with the homelessness and the cleanliness and the organization. And I know people will argue that, but have you been to LA or San Francisco lately? I mean, it's intense. Portland, Seattle, they are rough places.
Very intense. But I think the cat's out of the bag now with San Diego. And I saw a couple inflation reports out recently. And I was actually a little bit shocked. But it said the most expensive cities to live in the country now
that too.
is San Diego. But I'm like, it's still unbelievable to me. I want to see some more data.
Yeah, I do too. I saw that the other day and I was like, come on.
Yeah, because I'm thinking New York, I'm thinking the Bay Area, San Francisco, Los Angeles, even Orange County.
But it is absolutely incredible. On a nightly, multiple tables have just moved from LA or San Francisco. We were not cool enough before, but we are the place to go now.
How price sensitive, like with these higher end restaurants that you're doing, how price sensitive are these guests that come in? Because for me, like, I want to pay for the experience. I want a nice quality meal. I want some good service. And if I have all that and the ambiance is good, the difference of paying $300 for a dinner for two and a nice bottle of wine versus $350 or even $400 is not going to make or break the difference of me coming in there or not. So when you guys are pricing out your menu, how much thought are you guys putting into that?
A little different in Encinitas than down here in Little Italy and downtown.
More expensive down here?
Yes, because we have people coming in. We have the convention center down here. We have people with expense accounts. We had our greatest year ever last year because everyone was cooped up. And the year after COVID was party. I mean, people were just spending money. They started with cocktails. They finished with cocktails. They bought wine. They were just going for it. Now we see a little bit of a correction, getting a little bit more pre-COVID numbers. But with the fluctuating economy, with the market going up and the travesties going around the world and the wars and the mayhem that's happening, people may correct their spending in travel and luxury. But the one thing that is, I firmly believe, that will maintain is the opportunity to go out and forget about things for a couple hours with your family and friends at a restaurant. And that's where you're going, I'm going to spend this money right here. It's not an extravagant investment. I'm not buying a new bag. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to wherever. I'm going to have a great time, and alcohol and food make you just really appreciate life and enjoy the company you're with. So restaurants are a very strong place. Retail is having a very hard time right now, but you still need to go out and enjoy your clothes and your surroundings. And restaurants are going to be, as long as you take care of your guests, as long as you give them good service and great food, we have a long, long future.
And you can also almost argue that like the space that you're playing in with the higher end, higher ticket meals, that those
Might
guests
be a
are
safer
less
area.
those
Yeah.
guests are less affected by a slowdown in the economy than someone that's going out and having a $20 meal. Those $20 meal guests might be the ones that are more affected and be the ones that are like, hey, we're going to actually go, eat in and dine in and do some grocery shopping and cook tonight until the economy comes back.
100%. 100%. Yes, we cater to a little bit of that higher income. Although I do tell everybody, you can come into any of our restaurants, sit at the bar, get a table, and you can leave at a moderate price. I see it all the time. Urban C is very approachable in price point. Go in there, have a couple beers, and have a pizza. It's there to do that. You have the opportunity in all of our restaurants, and that's what we do also, is because we are not just that segment. We have big restaurants. And in order to be successful, they've always said the most expensive thing in a restaurant is an empty seat. So if I'm just an elitist and I just cater to the very high wealth, right? I'm not going to succeed. So I want people to know that you can come in and get a fried rice at Animae and have a cocktail. You can come in and experience these luxuries at a moderate price. It is available to you. And we have a large variety of menu and a lot of opportunities to cater to different income levels. And so that's very, very important to us. One more, a wise person once said to me, if I feed the elite just that highest echelon, I will live with the masses. But if I feed the masses, I'll live with the elite. And there's a fine line there. I'm not a fast food restaurant, but I do want to make sure that people from a lot of different income brackets can come enjoy what we provide for people, that hospitality, that place to tell story and cherish life, talk memories, and build memories.
I love that, by the way. But I guess a question for you. So if I see some restaurants that are struggling here and there, and for the ones that are struggling, they're struggling to bring people in and fill these tables. What's the number one thing they can do to really increase their revenue and drive that marketing?
It starts with the guest in the restaurant. It really, everything starts with the guest in the restaurant. And restaurants are ships. I liken them to ships. Once she starts sinking, you are having a hard time. It has to start on day one. But if you're not doing great by the third month, fourth month, odds of you being able to salvage it are not good. You have to have pre-planned. You have to have your strategy in place before you open. And then every single guest that comes through that door needs to leave and be so excited to tell their friends. And then you win. But if you're 4, 5, 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, and your numbers are going down, you're done.
Yeah.
You're not turning that ship.
So it sounds like, for anyone out there that's interested in opening a restaurant, would you also say that is the number one key to success?
You have to open right. You have to open. You have to be ready. You have to have some money in the bank, operating capital. You have to be able to deliver. You have to deliver day one. Nobody gives you a second chance in the restaurant business around here, under new management. Oh, we're going to once you start dropping prices, offering discounts and stuff like that, you're just filling up water. You're just done.
What's the proper way to launch a brand new restaurant? Like, should you have soft launches and PR and all this stuff?
You have to have somebody that's a great chef. You have to have somebody that's a great operator, a great GM, who bring on the best staff, who know how to make the best food and how to make the best food in a timely manner. Right? When I get busy, if it takes me 45 minutes to get my food, I'm not happy, man. Our restaurants deliver your food within 10, 15 minutes. It's boom, boom, boom. The music, the sound. You have to be ready to go. You have to do test meals. You have to test. You have to, have family and friends come in and say, what do you like? What do you like? You have to take the harsh criticism, and you have to open with seasoned veterans that know what they're doing, and not somebody that said, oh, I've been to 5 restaurants in the last 3 years. So you have to do your homework.
Yeah, I love that. We were there on Friday night, and there was like a bunch of commotion coming out of the kitchen. And they were like, what is going on back there? What do you guys do back there? I mean, there's yelling going on back there. You're pumping up the chefs. What are you guys doing back there?
I travel a lot and I do a lot of things, and I have teenager kids and stuff. So I don't make it into the restaurants as much as I'd like to, but I always get in on, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. And when I come into that kitchen and I start banging on the counters and I'm like, we're savages, we're pirates, we're like getting them all fired up. And it just makes the whole dining room just get excited and have fun. So just rallying the troops.
I love that. Well, Brian, it's been a pleasure, man. Definitely impressed with everything that you built here. I know everyone in the neighborhood here in San Diego speaks very highly of you.
We have to get you into anime. I mean,
I'm going to.
Yeah, we got to get you into anime. And I'm really excited about what's happening across the street from anime right now. As much as we had said that Little Italy is kind of the dining epicenter, there's a lot of stuff that's going to go on that new HQIQ thing right there. And I think it's going to really change the dynamics of this city. And I'm excited to see how that comes to life. I'm
also excited too. I mean, I love walking down to that part of town. You got Seaport Village and all the shops down there, and they have that Seaport project as well. So I think 3-4 years from now, that whole area is going to look completely different. It's going to be gentrified and built out. Or will you do another restaurant down there?
You have enough malarkey down here right now. I'll tell you that. We have that La Jolla thing going on. We're going to wish you well at the airport, and that's about what we're going to do.
Urban air. I love it. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. And like I said, everyone speaks very highly of yourself and also all your restaurants that you built here. So thank you so much. And
I give all credit to my team and my staff who have taken a vision and taken it to a whole new level.
He's Brian Malarkey. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.